Hey guys, Ben Painter, and today we're back once again for another video, and this time we are back down at Teamsport Bristol, and this time we are taking part in a GP1 event. So this one we're going to display the second heat that we took part in. The first heat was a 20-minute race from the very beginning, from the qualifying session that we did, 3-stage qualifying session, and then this heat here that you're about to watch was a reverse grid from the qualifying positions. Now I qualified in 7th position due to having a kart that wasn't quite on the pace, and then this led to us starting in 11th position, I believe, for the reverse grid. So you can see at the beginning, as we're coming through the first couple of corners in the grid start, it's always chaos, it's always hectic, and then we're underway. Now before we get into the rest of the video, if you do enjoy this video, could you please hit a like on it down below, as I really do appreciate it. And if you're also new here, or if you haven't already, can you hit the subscribe button as well, as we're getting really close to 300 subscribers now, and I really would love to hit that if we can do it. So jumping back into the footage, we are following along behind Jason Ford here in 9th place. Obviously our first lap was quite slow at 42.315, and as we're letting the footage roll, I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory on the first heat. Now obviously we started in 7th position, as I mentioned, and that then led to us sort of getting up to 5th place, having a little bit of a battle and actually getting a little bit frustrated. Now I'm going to jump back into the footage here. You see Barney going for a big send on Arthur. He tries to cut it back, and I actually managed to gain 2 positions from that, which I was really happy with. Didn't expect it, and I jumped all the way from 9th up into 6th in a matter of a couple of corners. So jumping back into what I was saying, obviously I felt that the first heat, there wasn't too much footage going on, but what there was I got into a little bit of an argy-bargy sort of situation with one of the other drivers, and this did put me on edge for the rest of the night. Unfortunately, the camera sort of cut out before any of that happened, so I can't show you guys any of that, but I just thought I'd let you know and sort of give you a little bit of foreshadowing later into the video. So jumping back in, we are in 6th place, and we're just trying to get as far up the grid as we can. Obviously we started in 5th place, we finished in 5th place for the first heat, which meant if we could get a good result from the second heat, then we would be on for a very good result indeed. And you can see Barney tapped his helmet there to sort of say let's work together and try and catch up with the other 4 that are sort of racing away up ahead. They made a little bit of a gap due to the little bit of carnage that was going on the top couple of hairpins. I decided in my head that I was going to sort of dismiss what Barney asked, and instead I was just going to go for a move of my own, straight down the inside, clean move up the inside, and now we're up into 5th place. I tapped on my helmet as we were going down the ramp, just to say let's follow along behind me and let's see if we can push on and catch up to the 4 guys up ahead. Obviously you can see from our lap times that we're not getting around too quick at the moment. The track on this evening felt very slippy, and it didn't feel quite as natural as it has done the last couple of times we've been down. Obviously we've been getting into the 37-second mark quite easily, and some of the other guys managed to do that in the first heat, but obviously as I mentioned in the first heat, unfortunately, and also in quali, I had a kart that wasn't quite on the pace, so I think my fastest lap in that heat was a 38.2, I believe, so a little bit off the pace of where we want to be, but we are just going to try and knuckle down and see if we can improve on that in this one, hopefully get a 37 of our own. You can see we come across the line already improving straight down into a 38.559, and we've called right up to the back of the train of the 4 karts up ahead of us. So now we're just going to try and make our way past as quickly as we can, just so we can try and catch up to Oliver Payne, who's at the front, and I knew he had a little bit more pace compared to the other 3 that were lined up in front of me. However, I did have a driver up ahead of me here who was a little bit of a mobile roadblock, not really able to get past very easily. So instead you can see we're tucking in behind here, almost pushing them through every corner on the track, and they're getting a better exit out of some of the corners, but obviously due to their weight, and I've been in that situation, we just had a little bit more pace coming down the start-finish straight, so it was allowing me to really catch up quite quickly. Gone a little bit wide there and trying to get a better exit, but the back end of the car didn't really want to stick to where I wanted it to go, so instead we lost a little bit of time there. But you can see how much overspeed we have. I was looking for the inside here but decided to back out, I thought I had got enough to sort of get past, but unfortunately had to back out and prepare for another battle, another day. So you can see here, he sort of lost the toe from some of the other drivers up ahead, the top three now, and I'm all over the back of him here, trying to find my way past. Now, here we go again, just trying to find our way to catch up to the other three, sort of bumping him down the start finish straight to give him that little bit of a push to see if we can catch up to the other three up ahead. And at this point I was getting slightly frustrated. Obviously, as I mentioned, my head wasn't all there, and just proving that we are all human. Here I decided that was enough, going up the inside here, and I tried to make the way past, and instead we managed to sort of force ourselves halfway past into the wall. I thought the move was on. We sort of were about 80% alongside, so I thought that the corner was mine, but unfortunately we just sort of got forced into the wall a little bit there. Half my fault, half his fault, and that did lead to a yellow flag. I don't actually know what happened. I think he was fine behind me, but as you might have saw going into the first hairpin, he did try and retaliate with a bit of a T-bone manoeuvre, and then I don't know, some sort of action happened behind. So you can see we're under yellow flag conditions now, and the yellow flags have gone out straight away, and then they've come back on, which I was quite confused about. And you can see up ahead, Oliver was right ahead of these guys when the yellow flag started, and by the time that it's now a red flag, he seems to be half the kart track ahead. So I don't know how he's managed to pull that off and not get the penalty, but I guess the game's the game, and sometimes we miss things, and that's just how it is. So we're coming back in now. You can see Oliver up ahead. He's sort of gained about a 15 million second advantage compared to everyone else, which is a bit unsportsmanlike, but it is what it is. He's in his own right to try and push the boundaries as much as he can. And you can see Lennon up ahead in third place, trying to do his best impression of Max Verstappen here, trying to get as close as he can to the driver in second place without actually getting past him until the green light comes. So I was trying to be a bit of a fair racer here, trying to maintain the gap behind. I didn't want to get right up behind because I felt that I had a little bit more pace than the two drivers up ahead anyway. So I thought if I could hang back a little bit, I'd be able to get a better run and sort of catch them napping a little bit by being further back anyway, because they wouldn't immediately be going defensive against me. But you can see within a matter of two corners, we've already managed to close the gap on the two up ahead. I think that they were going to start getting into a little bit of a tussle for second position. You can see by taking a nice tight line coming round the last corner, I was able to really close up on them and now get into the toe from behind them, which when you're in the thermal toe at this point, at this stage of the year, it really does make a big difference. See Lennon going all over the place in the Mickey Mouse section. I fancy my chances, dive down the inside and just park the kart right in the perfect place where I was able to sort of slide past him up into third place, so a podium position now. And now I was just looking to try and rain down on the person in second place. So just trying to take as tidy lines as I can, not ensuring, or sorry, I was ensuring that the back end of the kart didn't slide out, as this is an issue that I had for most of the evening, if I'm honest. The karts I was using, they just seem to be a little bit all over the place. So once again, feeling a little bit more comfortable in this one. It allowed me to push a bit harder. Still not fully comfortable, but we've just got to work with the best you have. So coming up behind the driver in kart number 9 here, you can see he's taking a really slidey line through the bottom hairpin, whereas I was going a little bit slower and getting better traction out of the corner. It meant I was really able to close up on them coming in the up ramp section of the track. They go sort of to the middle of the track, and instead here I took a more racing line, or a more normal racing line, and this allowed me to really close up behind them now, and I was trying to look for a way past as quickly as I could. Again, getting a better exit out of the start finish straight and pushing them down the start finish straight. And I was thinking about a move up the inside into Mickey Mouse, but I decided against it. Obviously that's not really a place you really want to go for a move unless you're desperate. So instead here I thought I'd wait and see if he does the same thing again going up the up ramp, and as a matter of fact he did. And instead here I waited for him to go a little bit defensive, wait for the gap to open, and I slotted right down the inside once again. A nice clean move, no contact, and now we're really just trying to put in as fast laps as we can with some clean air to really catch up to Oliver as quickly as we can. I said to the other guys behind me, tapping my helmet again, saying look, let's work together, let's not fight, let's not make any silly decisions, and let's just try and catch up to Oliver, who was up in first place. So you're going to see how quickly, by having clean air, that we're able to drastically drop our lap times, because obviously we're a bit more free air. You're able to take more clean racing lines rather than having to think of a way to get past the drivers up ahead of you. However, if that driver is usually quite quick, it is good to stay behind them and use them almost as a bit of a towing or an anchor to try and pull you through the pack. So you can see in second place now, you'll see every lap we actually were gaining a couple of tenths on Oliver, and this was just showing in the distance that we had behind me and him. So coming across the line on this lap, our fastest lap so far, as I mentioned, from having that clean air, a 38.501, and now we're just trying to put in more clean laps, making sure that the kart doesn't over rotate, doesn't slide through the corner, because anytime you slide it, it's just going to lose its momentum and traction. So you can see me bunny hopping up the ramp here to try and get as my placebo to try and get the car up the ramp quicker. And as I mentioned earlier, we did have contact with one driver, and that in fact was Oliver. So in my head at this point, I just wanted to beat him out on track cleanly, wanted to make a nice clean pass and just really beat him on merit and prove to myself that I could be the quicker driver. So we come across the line again, another 38.5 second laps, of being super consistent. A lot of laps in the 38.5 second region at the moment, so we're being really consistent, using exactly the same lines throughout the whole of the event. And that's really the main thing. See, we look over my shoulder, you see Lennon's red suit, and that was actually how far behind we've managed to sort of gap them at this point. So I knew I was on for some good pace here, but clearly it wasn't quick enough, as it was still in the mid 38 second region, which is about almost a second off where we were the last time we came down. So a little bit disappointed with our overall pace in this one, but with 3 times registered now, we're more than a shoe-in to be sort of put through to the local final at Bristol. So that's not a problem that I'm worried about. So instead here you can see again another 38.530 second lap, and trying to really juggle the pedals this time through the bottom hairpin. I found that this was the best way to sort of maximise my exit speed coming up the ramp, because usually when you use one pedal and then you switch to the other, it's just those split second decisions that sort of make the big difference. You don't realise how quickly applying the throttle a bit earlier compared to just applying a bit later actually does make a big difference. So we come across the line on this one, and it's our fastest lap so far of the race, a 38.421, and you can see how much time we've managed to gain on Oliver through the last couple of laps. I don't know if he was making a few mistakes or if his kart wasn't quite running in a way that he felt comfortable, but you can see just more and more laps go by, more and more pace we're managing to pick up, and the closer we are getting to him. So again, taking my unorthodox line through the top 2 hairpins here. I know a lot of people find my lines a little bit weird through there. A lot of people take it a bit wider, but I just like to really slide the car in and try and hold the momentum, and it does in fact work for me. So we come across the line on this lap again, even quicker, a 38.267 second lap, which was around the same sort of lap times that we were getting in the first heat. So now at this point I knew that I was sort of at full potential, or not full potential, sorry, but I was sort of pushing the kart to its max now, and really trying to rain down on the back of Oliver here, try and get in his peripheral vision, just to sort of give him a little bit of nerves, just try and hopefully allow him to make one more mistake, which will put me right in the thermal toe, as I mentioned earlier. So we're coming round again the last corner here, the big sweeping right corner, and just trying to stay as tight as possible to those 2 apexes, as it really does minimise the track distance. And just by having that little bit of track distance minimised, it really does allow us to close up. You can see again, coming through the Mickey Mouse section, really getting tight to both of the apexes there, almost sliding through. There's a bit of a yellow flag here, which I was a little bit confused about, and here we can see that under the yellow flags we are right up behind Oliver. So I was really happy with this. We've really closed up behind him now at this point, and then as soon as the lights were going to go green, we were ready to be in the thermal toe and really catch up to him. So here you can see I backed off a little bit, and then I decided, you know what, we're going to get as close as we can, just because he gave himself such a big gap earlier in the race. But I did get caught napping, and instead I actually held sort of the position I was in, so didn't really help myself. But now at this point we are in striking distance, which I was really happy with. So coming up behind him here, you can see he's getting a decent run out of the Mickey Mouse section, and I was just trying to bide my time here. Could have gone for a little move there, but decided I was going to wait and see where we could make the move, trying to take a little bit of a wider line here to try and get a better run coming into the top couple of hairpins. You can see he goes very defensive here. He knows already that I'm all over the back of him here, trying to look for a little bit of a switchback. He parks it quite well on the apex, which was really good driving from him, and now we're just trying to see where we can sort of understand where a good opportunity to overtake would be. So we come across the line on this lap, 38.618, giving him a little bit of a tap just before the corner, just to let him know I'm there, and now we're really closing up behind him and really nice up right on his bumper, and here he swings all the way to the left, and that just opens the door right up for me to just slot down the inside on the right hand side. Really happy with that overtake, and now I just decided to go a little bit tighter here, a little bit more defensive. But as I was doing that, he just lunged down the inside, gives me a bit of contact, and clearly here I just completely lost my head, went for a big lunge down the inside of him there and just completely forced him off the racing line. So I'd like to apologise to Oliver. It wasn't very fair of me to do that. It was quite dirty, but just showing to you guys that we're all human. I was a little bit angry from earlier in the race, or the heat before, and then I just completely lost my head and gone for that move. But I didn't get a penalty, so I don't know if the marshals missed it, but we're moving on now. We did let Kelvin pass. I think Kelvin won the first heat as well, so at this point I knew he pretty much had the event wrapped up, so I just decided that I wanted to follow along behind him, almost going straight into the back of him here, but I managed to just hit the brakes enough to not go into the back of him. But yeah, just trying to follow around behind Kelvin here. This is actually the first time I've actually raced Kelvin on track, believe it or not. I've been going for just over a year. Kelvin's one of the fastest drivers at the track, one of the most experienced drivers at the track, and I've always wanted to actually race Kelvin properly, and this was a prime opportunity to sort of give us a bit of foreshadowing for the local final later in the year in September. So I wanted to try and push myself as much as I can, just trying to keep up with him because he's a very smooth driver, doesn't really buckle under pressure too much, and I just wanted to sort of test myself, see where we matched up against him. But as you can see, making a couple of mistakes there through the top two hairpins, and really just trying to push myself to get that time back and catch up to him once again. We come across the line on this lap at 38.348, so even despite those mistakes, we're still on some pretty good pace following along behind him here. So again, you can see through the Mickey Mouse section, getting really close to him, just really trying to tag along behind and follow his line, see what he does a bit different to me. I know he takes the top two hairpins very different to me, because I just take a completely strange line compared to everyone else, which you will see almost immediately. So you can see here I almost slide the kart in and then try and carry the momentum through the corner, whereas a lot of other people tend to use a more go nice and slow into the corner and rotate the kart later just so they can get a better run into the second hairpin, which I think the run I sort of do, it allows me to just sort of have an average speed over both of the corners, so it sort of balances out quite well. And you can see it on our last lap, it is our fastest lap of the race, and actually our fastest lap of this heat, 38.225, which I was happy with on the evening, but I wasn't too happy with overall. Obviously, as I said, we've been getting 37s recently, mid 37 second laps, so this was a little bit off the pace. I was a bit disappointed with this one, but I did the best I could with the equipment I was given. So now we're coming around the last corner here, and this was in fact the last lap of the race. You can see on the left hand side the checkered flag was flown, so that in fact left us in P2 for this one, and this did in fact drop us in P2 overall. I think the guys behind had a little bit of a ruckus, finished a little bit further down, obviously starting the second race nearer the back. It just sort of compromised them. So this does in fact bring us to the end of the video, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, can you please leave a like on it down below and subscribe to the channel if you're new or if you haven't already. I just thought I'd let you guys know that I've left a link to my new TikTok down below in the description. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.